You know, ever since I started watching the show, Earth ponies always seemed quite useless compared to Pegasi and unicorns. Sure, it's loosely implied that strength is the special attribute they have, but even so, if the war broke out, we all know who would be the first to go. You know, I can respect the message if it's well presented, even if I completely disagree with it. Why am I bringing this up? Well, you'll see. But for now, let's see what we got for today.
The twitching means my pinky sense is telling me that stuff's gonna start falling. You two better duck for cover.
Oh, Pinky, it's not gonna rain. Why, there's barely even a cloud in the sky.
And right there, I remember thinking, ah shit, this will be an episode that incorporates predictions, seeing the future in general, things like that, and so I sighed. See, I have this distaste for stories that have this looming destiny over our characters. It automatically tells me where the story will conclude. While I agree that destination can be just a point in the time our heroes reach, and the real fun is in the journey. Still, I like to be surprised. Still, some might argue that in my favorite cartoon, the Avatar series, it was known how it would end. It still was shrouded in some uncertainty, and so it made the journey more important and impactful. But okay, I'm just beating the wrong dead horse here. The episode itself here is set up in quite the cynical way. Pinkie demonstrates an uncanny ability to vaguely predict something in near future. This ability she calls the pinkie sense. Twilight, in the meantime, is being extremely skeptical, while Spike is fast believer in Pinkie's ability. Now, instead of going through scene by scene, let me just quickly summarize the plot. For this story, Twilight gets angrier and angrier as she doesn't believe in this wild, random ability that no one has displayed before in recorded materials. And so she wants to investigate it and prove Pinkie wrong. Pinkie in the meanwhile seems not to give a fuck and goes about her business, which makes the character conflict disintegrate, which also makes the story partly break down too. The basic idea behind this story, in this case in symbolic manner, is religion or personal belief versus science and rational thought. Yes, that old dead horse. Before I get into this, I want my stance to be known. In the past I've dropped a few clues. None too subtly that I'm an atheist. But even from a standpoint of someone who had the belief in something, could find huge problems in this story. So don't think that this is just me ranting from my subjective side. So then, Twilight represents the overly skeptical scientist man, and Pinkie is the believer combined with the belief itself, if you will. Throughout the story, it's quite clear by the way Twilight is written, that whoever was behind this episode as the main driving force had an agenda to show that because you cannot explain something doesn't mean that it's not there. Now, I'll return to that point, but for now, I'd like to point out that humorous bits here and there throughout the episode were actually well done.
Oh, what would a brave pony like Rainbow Dash do?
Yeah!
Maybe too much here and there, especially.
Something's gonna fall! Run for your life!
Ugh, Spike, honestly, you're overreacting.
Oh, come on, that horse is dead already. First AJ, then possibly Rainbow Dash, and now Twilight. Folks, we're running out of ponies. Still, getting back to the main point of the story, just because you can't explain it doesn't make it any more or less real. Okay, here's what I think happened with the story. Since the show was made mostly in Canada at the time, a prominent Christian territory if you will, this was an attempt of validating that particular religion, but to appeal to bigger audience and not to be too blatant. It was toned down so it would work for the show and its universe. Pinkie's ability is not measurable because it happens at random, and the same thing goes with your typical answered prayer. But even if it's not about that one particular religion, this episode applies to any superstitious belief. Problem number one that show's creators seem to have forgotten was that there was already magic in the universe of My Little Pony. This fact only diminishes the point of having this one weird ability. And worst of all, the message as Twilight puts it.
I am happy to report that I now realize there are wonderful things in this world you just can't explain. But that doesn't necessarily make them any less true. It just means you have to choose to believe in them. And sometimes, it takes a friend to show you the way.
Ugh, fucking disgusting having this forced message tarnish this great show. Still, you can attribute the same message to magic in My Little Pony. We as viewers don't have a clue how it works. But because it's repeatable and somewhat quantifiable as well as measurable, makes it a lesser proxy for the religious, superstitious belief representative. Yet you realize that the same thing could be said about technology as well from a common person's perspective. You don't know how phones work exactly, but they work and you believe believe in them. Yet difference here is that unlike Pinkie sense or religion or whatever belief you have, you can eventually measure it and find out how it works. To me, at the end, this message was a horribly poor attempt at validating personal superstitious belief. And it's disgusting both because show's creators felt the need to put such a message in the show, and because it was such a weak presentation, which is a bigger tragedy. Still, let's not forget that the episode tried to explain bullshit with different type of bullshit. Now, I won't go deeper than that. These reasons alone make this episode the worst one in the whole show, and that's that. A horrible portrayal of skeptical, rational thinking mindset, the horrible religious and superstitious belief propaganda, and finally the barely fitting message and explanation that breaks down as soon as you remember that you're in the world that has magic in it already. As the last thing, let's take a quick look at Avatar series. Because of course Avatar did everything so fucking well I won't stop talking about it. But that show too attempted similar message in the episode The Fortune Teller. Though both episodes dealt with similar subjects, the irrational belief in superstitions, and both shows have magic in them, Avatar series rode the line between both camps and presented the situation more or less equally. This is how you do it, not blatantly make propaganda and then fail to be self-aware. Personally, I hate both episodes because I'm an atheist, as well as this episode encouraged superstitious belief and damned the rational thinking, and so I'm biased. At least I can respect Avatar series' take on it because it was presented in a calm and fair way. So yeah, feeling Pinkie keen is the worst episode in the show, and though I'm not as angry when talking about it as I am when discussing the second worst episode, this one disappointed and disgusted me deeply, and ideologically, it's the worst. Now, if you choose to believe in something, fuck it, go for it, but don't expect this bark horse not to challenge your belief.